Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. And this, ladies and gentlemen, and others, is exactly why companies make you sign 20,000 waivers for everything. Customer may be pissed, but he has no real recourse. He acknowledged the condition of the sofa at the time of pickup. He acknowledged that he was not having professionals deliver it for him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Load this sofa bed my way. Whatever you say. Back in the warehouse days, when it came to customers picking up their orders, it was a crap show. It took a lot of damages, issues, and complaints until I put it to the higher-ups to actually outline on their sales dockets terms and conditions that would protect the company and also protect us warehouse workers. When customers came to pick furniture up, whatever it was, sofa, coffee table, rug, usually the warehouse staff had handled that product over 100 times and had figured out the safest way to go about loading, unloading, stocking said product. This particular Thursday afternoon, we had a sofa bed come in that was scheduled for a customer pickup. I grabbed the transfer sheet, called up the customer, and explained that we had their sofa bed and that as per the terms and conditions of the sales docket, could the customer please bring a second able-bodied person to help load up the goods. I also mentioned that unfortunately the warehouse workers weren't covered to load customers' orders into a customer's personal vehicle. Lo and behold, come 3:30 p.m., the customer shows up in a fancy black truck with a small flat bed area and no one to help him. Immediately, this guy strikes us as an alpha male type. He's going through all these theatrics of measuring his flat bed and exclaiming loudly to everyone in earshot, "Yeah, this brand new super expensive truck's going to be able to handle this sofa bed no problem." I sigh and ask the customer where his second person is. Alpha male, "No need. One of you boys can help me lift." Me, almost second nature now. "Sir, as per the sales agreement you signed off on, any and all customer pickups must be done by the customer as no warehouse staff are able to help." Alpha, "What, are you a P-word?" I just shake my head. This guy's going to make our lives miserable. So I talk to my team, tell them to keep working through the transfer stock and tell the alpha douche that I'll help him load up quickly. He shoots me a victorious, self-satisfied smirk and begins to jump up into his truck, just to make sure we all know he's got this under control. I use a flat trolley to wheel the sofa bed over, and he grabs the flimsy plastic covering the sofa. He starts giving me directions in a loud, authoritative voice, and he wants me to kind of balance the sofa against the side of his car and then lift it up to him. I point out that it's actually easier if we both lift from the ground level into the back of the truck and then use the rope he's brought along to secure the sofa bed. Alpha, "Bullcrap. I'll grab this plastic, you lift, and we'll lean it against the roof." I point out that the sofa bed has metallic feet and that despite that packaging, there's a possibility it could damage his new vehicle. Alpha, with a crap-eating grin, "Haven't you boys heard that the customer's always right? Just do it my way." Me, "You got it." I get the customer to sign off on the paperwork that he's taking his sofa, that it's in good condition, and that by picking up the sofa instead of getting it delivered, he takes on all responsibility. He jumps back up onto the flatbed of his truck and kind of braces one leg against the roof of his truck. I start to lift slowly, but Alpha overcompensates. He yanks at the plastic, which causes the sofa to lurch up out of my hands. The plastic splits. The guy realizes now he has to control this behemoth of a lounge suite. Gravity takes over as the guy tries to control the sofa, which is beginning to roll out of his truck. I try and grab at it, but there's no way to salvage this. The customer holds on as best as he can, but lets out a yelp as his wrist turns at a strange angle. The sofa bed rolls out of the truck, and the metal feet scrape across the paintwork on the side of his truck, leaving these horrendous deep scratches. Everyone is silent. The look of shock on the customer's face turns to violent rage as he begins berating the crap out of myself and the warehouse guys. He storms into the sales area and grabs the manager. I helpfully point out the customer signed off on the delivery slip, refusing to bring a helper, and when I tried to talk him out of it, demanded we do it his way. And our second story. Ahole Foreman got a cat flap. Note, a foreman is a man who supervises and directs workers at a site, or at least he should be. So, I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for years now and never have any problems with foremen. I usually wouldn't see them for most of the day. The norm would be a chat in the morning to see what I will be doing for the day, and that's it. But I was on a job for a few weeks fitting doors, stairs, skirting board, etc. in his soon-to-be housing estate, and let's just say that this foreman, Steve, was different. He was an a-hole, a nightmare to work under, and I mean that quite literally. He would just stand there, lurking over me as I worked, as if he didn't trust me to do my job. He did this to everyone, and if anyone asked him anything, he would be annoyed that they didn't know already, so he would either shout the answer at them or not tell them at all, which obviously led to mistakes due to the fact they would have to guess stuff like measurements. Oh, and if there were mistakes made, holy crap. Let's say someone cut something wrong and wasted 5 minutes or so. An ordinary foreman would say something like, "Crap happens, cut it right next time." But Steve would scream at the top of his lungs for 20 minutes straight over the fact that the guy wasted 5 minutes. How does that make sense? He did this to me a couple of times, and I was effing sick of it. So I rocked up one day and asked Steve what he wants me to do for the day. I knew what I had to do already. I was hanging doors the day before and still had a few to do. But if there was any changes and I didn't want to waste time doing something I didn't have to, he looked at me as if I had two heads and asked if I'd finished the doors, so I said, no, I didn't. To which he screamed at me, "Then what the F are you asking me for? Hang the effing doors." I said nothing. I just walked over to the van to take out the tools to start. I got a few doors hanging when I got to a door that wasn't clear whether I put the hinges on the left or right. I was on the second floor of a house and saw Steve out through the window, so I asked him, it's far enough away to talk loudly, but not too far away to shout, me, "Hey Steve, which side do I hang this door from?" Steve shouting, "Hang it from the effing top, why don't you?" Me, "Sure thing." I'm still not sure why he said that, but he ended up regretting it. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I put the hinges on the top of the door and got it hanging. It looked ordinary until you try to open it. You had to lift it up and go under it. It was basically the world's largest cat flap. Absolutely hilarious looking. After I stopped laughing at how ridiculous looking it was, I put my tools back in the van to go home. It was the middle of the day. If Steve saw me driving away, he would know I wasn't coming back, and then I phoned the developer, the man who owns the construction site and is paying wages. I told him about Steve. He wasn't happy and said he'll sort it out. At this point, I was standing outside the house that had the cat flap, and Steve was walking in my general direction, so I called him over and told him there was an issue with the door upstairs, the cat flap. So he heads upstairs, and I got in my van. I could hear him scream, "What the F?" from inside my van. He ran outside, started pointing and shouting at me with a big red face. I looked at him, burst into laughter, and started to drive home. I met up with one of the other guys on the site a few days later. He said he hasn't seen Steve since that day. There's now a new foreman on site, and apparently this one isn't a complete a-hole. And our last story. Cop blocking my driveway and harassing me and my wife. So here's some backstory. Me and my fiance moved into this new place back in April. We've been living here since then. The town I live in is incredibly small and only has around 150 to 200 people. Maybe more. The cops around here are notorious for pulling people over. There's a major highway that runs between here and Cincinnati. They're almost always out on that road because the city's jurisdiction extends across that highway. They almost are never monitoring what's happening in town. Fast forward until now. There was a cop sitting at the four-way in the middle of town that my fiancé had passed. She works with horses and drives a truck that's kind of loud. She was pulled over in our driveway for this exhaust issue. She took the loud exhaust ticket, paid it. We put a new exhaust that helped quiet down the truck. All's good, right? Nah. Now this guy knows where we live. He drives by all the time, and he knows when my fiancé leaves for work. He follows me now in my 2010 Honda Civic. It's a completely legal car, no real reason for him to be following me, all the time as I do the speed limit, pay my taxes, and abide by the law. There's an abandoned house across the road where he'll sit at and clock people. However, it's right across from our home. Today was the last straw. When my fiancé was leaving for work, we was headed in from town from picking up our cat from the vet. He's sitting at the four-way stop sign in town. He sees us and makes eye contact with us. And then as I'm almost home, begins pulling out. My fiancé needed to go to work, so I decided to let her use my car, so that way there was no risk of her being pulled over in her truck, even though we fixed the exhaust like he asked. On her way out, he sees her leaving and pulls up and blocks the driveway, not allowing my fiancé to leave. He sits there for about a minute and then drives down the road a bit, waiting for her to pull out so he can stop her. She calls me and says she's afraid to leave, so I tell her to stay for a bit. He eventually pulled off and pulled over another loud truck. Here's the kicker. My Ring doorbell has the entire occurrence of him blocking our driveway on camera. I saved a copy to my phone storage. This is clearly harassment, and this guy doesn't let up. It's a shame when I'm fearful to leave the privacy of my home because this guy's following us around in an unusual way. Cops are meant to protect and serve, not harass and observe. Update. After a few more incidents, all filmed on camera, we went to a lawyer and got a restraining order, and the cop was suspended. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.